Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave original. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We're going to talk in a little while about making dreams come true. Who's making more dreams come true than anybody else. But first, I noticed something as we got to the end of the afternoon slate of games. I honestly don't know how often this happens. This feels a little bit uncommon, but I'm going to count them out right now. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 undefeated teams after week 3. I want to tell you something that is interesting about those 6 undefeated teams after week 3. But before we do that, just give you a little tease to hold you on here for a second. I'm going to tell you the most surprising thing that I have seen in the NFL. A few years ago, the Cleveland Browns had a punter named Rodney. I believe his name was Rodney Hudson. Those of you who have listened to this show for a while may remember him by the name that we gave him, the athletic punter. He's a Rodney that looked like you might imagine a Rodney to look. And I remember they ran a fake punt once, and that big, he had wheels too. You know what I'm saying? So, like, every now and then we get ourselves an athletic punter. What's the boy's name? Harvin something Jr. that went to Georgia Tech that wound up kicking for a while up there with the Steelers. Rest in peace to the homie Reggie Roby. You know what I'm saying? But somehow the Browns have toyed with my emotions. Somehow they have a kicker named Andre Smiths. It's Smiths, I think is what they said. But when I heard it on TV, it sounded like his name was Andre Smith. And then I looked at the picture, and that ain't no Andre. It's an Andre from around Chicago, and he's not an athletic kicker. That was the biggest surprise I ever had in my life. I was like first it was like, wait, the kicker's name is Andre? Hold on. I feel like either I would have got the memo about that, or B, do they still print up Jet magazines? Because that would have been in there, right? I was just at my parents' house. I would have thumbed through and seen it. But it turned out he was a different Andre. It was a white man named Andre. And we don't even make black Andres that much anymore, right? Maybe that's how I should have known he was a white Andre, because it didn't have a prefix, like a DE or an apostrophe or something that way. Anyway, it's 3-0 football teams. Here's what I noticed about the 3-0 football teams. One of them is the San Francisco 49ers, who I believe are just kind of sort of treading water. In fact, Ryan, I think a lot of people are treading water. Listen to this. The 49ers are 3-0. Their point differential in 3 games is 10.
Yeah, and that's with 2 games coming under the helm by Mac Jones.
That is correct. That is the other Mac Jones, not the Mac Jones that is the patriarch of this program. The other Mac Jones. The Buccaneers are 3-0. Ryan, their margin is +6. It has come down to the end on every game for them.
They really tried to give away today's game.
Oh, did they? I mean, they were playing the Jets. Poor Jets. The Jets were up 2, right? And then it marched back down. The Eagles are 3-0. That's at a +14. The Chargers at +20. I feel like that's not bad, but it's not like overwhelming. The 2 overwhelmers, one of them is the Buffalo Bills, who I don't know how great they've looked, but Ryan, the Colts have a point differential of 47.
Yeah.
And
Daniel Jones kicking shit out of people.
So let's talk about this for a second, right? I said this. We made a social video out of this. I mean, look, they brought him in to be the starter. You don't pay people $14 million a year to not be the starter, all right? I don't think it was simply to put a fire behind Anthony Richardson. My contention was from what I saw, I did not think that Daniel Jones did anything in the preseason to necessitate going to him to do the job this year. I just did not. It just seemed to me that they were trying to be done with Anthony Richardson and go on from there. So, Ryan, he's looked like kind of excellent.
Yeah.
You're not going to, I didn't fall for Sam Darnold last year. Okay. It's going to take a lot more than what I've seen. But what I've seen is a lot more than what I thought I was going to see.
Right.
I have to give the measure of credit on that. They are cooking, Jack, cooking. But they're the Colts. Like, Dominique said they was going to be good, right? And other people said that they were going to be good. But, okay, they beat the Dolphins. We agree bad. They beat the Titans. We agree. Bad with a terrible coach.
Terrible.
He's so bad.
Like fans booing during the middle of the game bad.
He's so bad. Oh, that's right. They did that in Nashville. And they got the 1-point win over the Broncos that came under somewhat questionable circumstances, but it happened and they won the game. But they are vindicated in the move that they made. We will see how good they actually are. They got to go play against the Rams in LA next week. We're going to see. But the thing that I'm noticing about all of these teams is we have a somewhat limited functional lexicon in our league, or in this league. I'm talking about our league, like I play in the NFL. When we talk about the NFL, we have a limitation in our diction and the ways that we speak and the terms that we use, right? And so we always look at it as if you have a quarterback, we treat that quarterback and we say he is a franchise quarterback. I'm sure you've heard me talk about this before, but it's relevant again. A franchise quarterback, right? But not everybody, just because you got a quarterback doesn't mean you got a franchise quarterback. You might just have a starting quarterback. You may even have a very good starting quarterback, but there aren't that many actual factual franchise quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes is a franchise quarterback. Josh Allen is a franchise quarterback. Lamar Jackson is a franchise quarterback. Just about everybody else is a starting quarterback until proven otherwise. And I'm saying this about Joe Burrow just because it seemed like he's gonna be hurt all the time. So we'll put him in franchise quarterback. Justin Herbert, right? He's living on the fringe. Dak Prescott, great example of a starting quarterback. Jalen Hurts, great example of a starting quarterback. Baker Mayfield, upper echelon starting quarterback. Brock Purdy, starting quarterback, right? And by the way, starting quarterbacks cost $50 million. They're not very easy to find. Anyway, we don't give having a starting quarterback nearly enough credit. Because if you hit all the other stuff that's around you, a starting quarterback will get the job. You know what? We got another throwback. A starting quarterback is the true and proper definition of what we used to call mid. Now do you get the point that we old heads make when we start talking about mid? You have a good time with a bag of mid. You have a great time with a bag of mid. Mid ain't gonna make your head hurt, right? Now, it ain't gonna necessarily be a special day, but if the music is already jamming and the food is already good, you got a full-on party. And the only thing you needed to take it over the top was a bag of mid, right? And okay, again, this is mid in the positive sense, not the insulting sense, the way y'all talk about it right now. If Daniel Jones is a starting quarterback, hey man, look, you understand, mid used to always not be guaranteed to find. Y'all be out here getting y'all shit and paying for it with a debit card or your Cash App account. It wasn't that simple, right? Like you could get it, but not everywhere. Good, solid mid. I'm looking at the NFC West, Ryan, and it's 4 levels of mid, but mid nonetheless. Now, Mac Jones, that's Reggie. That is Reginald. His middle name is probably Reginald. Kyler Murray, it's a good floral mid. Smells real nice.
Sam Darnold is a semi-dependable mid.
Yeah, he's he's
right
just sneaking it. Yeah, he's sneaking in there. He's just like, damn, this ain't what y'all had last week.
And, Stafford's is mid that's been there a little too long.
He is. But Stafford, I never know. I still have no idea what to do with Stafford. I've never seen anybody that had a growth arc that continued for as long as he did. I also have to remind you guys. So I've seen people get offended when I compare 3-time Pro Bowler Carson Palmer to 3-time Pro Bowler Matthew Stafford. Like, I think the parallels are actually very clear. Both went to teams that were historically terrible, right? Both were the best quarterback talent-wise that they'd ever had. Both were part of getting it together when they had very, very good receivers. Now, of course, Carson Palmer flat out quit on the Bengals. Stafford did not quit. They made the trade. He wound up in a good situation. But Palmer, never forget, man, Palmer was runner-up to the MVP again that Cam Newton year. And you could have made an argument that he could have been the MVP, right? It's not an insult to Matthew Stafford to say that he compares favorably to Carson Palmer. But in this analogy I have, Ryan, I have no proper comparison to like the bag of mid that'll give the other team a chance to catch the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a limitation on the
For
analogy
sure,
to try to come up with that.
we're all brainstorming here.
Yeah. Take it. That's where it spreads a little bit too far. Like it's a model where we can only relax so many of the assumptions.
Right.
That's where we have. But the teams that got that have a guy that can do the job seem to be doing all right. You know, now the thing about Daniel Jones is though, if you're a coach and he does the passing job just okay, he can run. And I still think half the league don't know that.
They're definitely learning this year. They definitely forgot he used to be able to run.
They always show that clip of him tripping over his own feet.
But he got a lot of distance before he fell.
He did.
He was the only man. He was the only man in the frame.
But he's already working against the limitations of their imaginations in the first place with his ability to run.
He did go to Duke.
He did, and on top of that, he did go to Duke. So we know he can take a charge, right? Jordan Love, he's our fringy starting versus franchise quarterback. The ones that I think get to be really interesting are the guys with absolute outright. I think Stafford perhaps is an example of this. And I think Jordan Love's in this same category, right? The ceiling is so franchise. The floor is so yuck.
Yes.
Like
it is going exactly where he wants it or exactly to the other team.
And that Thursday night game, Jordan Love looked like the future, right? However, they lost that game when my man Andre made that field goal and they only scored 10 points. And I don't think that was because Jordan Love played a terrible game. They couldn't run the ball for anything. But still, he ain't the reason they won that game. Now was he? He was not. Now, let me ask you this, Ryan, as we talk about these starting quarterback, who falls under what category? Do we still think that Tua is a starting quarterback? We haven't talked since he suffered embarrassment on national television.
Not pick your holiday. I don't know if he'll be a starter by Halloween. Certainly not by Thanksgiving. I mean, they all might be out of there by then.
I mean, Mike McDaniel is still a coach.
For now. For now.
I thought that since they don't have a bye week until 12, I thought that they would maybe take the Thursday as the opportunity, right? Like Stephen Ross, I'm surprised that he possesses this measure of patience. Where are we on CJ Stroud now that these Texans? I'm about to say the Texans on the other side of this, they're 0-3 with a 13-point differential.
CJ Stroud has thrown 19 touchdowns and 15 picks since he was, trying to be big brother to Caleb Williams on week 2 last year.
Wow, you know what? I thought he was well within his rights to big brother the guy at that moment. I felt like that boy needed to hear something. You know what I'm saying? That happens too.
They're basically the same age.
There's nothing quite overreaching when you believe that you have a measure of authority that the other person does not believe.
Correct.
That you have. Now, yeah, but I feel like he saw something in the little homie. He saw the little homie was down. He tried to pick him up. And that's how dedicated we are to finding things just to get on people for. He was out here trying to do his good deed for the day, and we use that as a line of demarcation to the end of his. You're so unapologetic about this. All right, guys. I know that it's real easy to talk bad about the Cowboys, right? And they've earned a measure of scoring. They're the most popular team in the league. That means it's going to have more people that dislike them. All of those things. But I do think from time to time that we need to acknowledge that there's some things that are like just bigger than the game, just bigger than wins and losses. And some of those things is like dreams. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of us, when we think about life and the way things go, we have dreams we want to fulfill. We want things that we want to accomplish. And look, like some of us, like the homie Joel from Missouri City, man, fastest 10-year-old in the world. Most of us don't make our dreams come true that soon. Like most of us have to grind it out and, go a lot longer before we can have such a worthwhile accomplishment. And when it comes to the Cowboys, I feel like we need to give the defense a nickname. And normally when you think of nicknames, you think of like the Steel Curtain, the purple people eaters, gang green, and the Cowboys used to have like the Doomsday defense, right? And we reserve nicknames for the great defenses. And I feel like given the contributions that they make into the world right now, we need to think about the other side of the coin and start giving nicknames to other defenses. And so I propose that now we need to call the Cowboys defense the Make-A-Wish Foundation because they out here making dreams come true. Like, like whatever it is that you didn't know if you could do it, you get out there against the Cowboys defense. I assure you, you will find out that you can, in fact, do it. Right? Like Russell Wilson, for example. Russell Wilson last week in week 2, he was out there looking like Jack Nicklaus at the Masters in 1986. You know what I'm saying? Caleb Williams had 4 touchdown passes. Ryan, I'm pretty sure that's a career high for him.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be on national television all year long, just getting shredded by these quarterbacks.
And this is what I'm saying. That's bigger than them. That's about more than them. And it's Caleb Williams' second 4 touchdown game. The last time was against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But the Make-A-Wish Foundation is like you got to go there, you put a little bit more into it yourself. But just like that New York game, it's just people running by them. It looks like playing Madden on rookie. Like the safeties, I don't know, what are they keeping safe? You know what I'm saying? Like what are they? They're like hall monitors. It's like they keeping an eye on you, but they're not stopping you from doing. Hey, slow down, stop running. Right? They ain't doing nothing about it. I couldn't believe it. They got by that flea flicker. Trayvon Diggs. Hey man, Trayvon Diggs had that one year where he had like 15 interceptions. I think it was 11, literally.
Yeah.
And I think he made the Pro Bowl after that. He's been hurt or whatever, but he's still in his mind think he that same dude, and he be blowing on the dice and just rolling, just seeing what can happen. Then next thing you know, they pass him and they look, and the hall monitors out here like, hey, where you guys going? Hey, right? Like, are they out there playing football with flashlights on their belts? Just that maybe if I can hit him in the eye, he won't be able to catch it. Is that what they're doing? Because it is amazing how bad they are. Keep in mind, that's Eberflus coaching that defense, who was the coach of the Bears. It's like a revenge game for you. No, sir. They ate your ass up. Or maybe Ben Johnson was like, I ate his ass up last year, and I'm going to eat his ass up again.
You know what really helps a bad secondary? A good pass rush.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's where the Michael Parsons thing comes back into play.
I mean, they gave Deron Bland all that money. He got hurt, and he was another trick or treat corner. He had all those pick sixes a couple years ago.
Yeah,
but he's not exactly a lockdown cover guy. You see this team as soon as CeeDee Lamb goes out, they're DOA.
Right. But here's my thing though about everything you're saying about the pass rush, the corners is right, but at the same time, them safeties are getting run past when it ain't the corner's job to stop them from getting there. You know what I mean? Like they are, and I don't even know these cats' names, to be honest. Right? And I should know their names because on the video, their names be in the camera.
You see a lot of the back of their jerseys.
Yeah. You could, I'll tell you this. I may not know their names, but they know the names of them receivers. They be looking at them the whole way. Mr. Moore, number 2.
Mr.
Nice
Burden, Mr. Yes. Odunze.
Yeah, they out here fighting about dudes you may not even known of, right? They trust me, they know how to spell Odunze. That's the best way to put it. Like, how do you spell that? One of them pop up from the back of the room. O as in Oliver, D as in Daniel, Unze. I think that's how you spell that. But anyway, they would be able to tell you specifically. Now, it's terrible when your own team has a bad defense. And we have talked on this show before about what it's like when you have that one cornerback that just be getting fired up in the whole city. Don't nobody hate more, right, than a city with that one dude who just stay getting lit on fire. Everybody hate that. Everybody understand that. You get it. But if the Cowboys are going to be the Cowboys, which is to say, they're going to be on national television a lot. Okay. Oh, Ryan, I forgot. They got to play against Micah Parsons next week.
Micah Parsons and, like we were just talking about, Jordan Love.
And Jordan Love. And look here.
Who has lit them up before.
Yeah, who has lit them up? I was about to say, not only has he lit them up before, as we saw in that movie, that was the one that broke Jerry Jones down. But if there's anything you need to be able to do, if you're going to stop Jordan Love, it's to stop him from throwing the ball really far. He's got that shit under control. Right? And like he's got that wrapped up. But they got, let me see, they're going to play against Washington. That's going to be on national TV. They're going to go to Denver. That's going to be on national TV. Oh, we got a Monday night game. Oh, we got another Monday night game. Oh, then we have another game of the week. Then we have Thanksgiving.
Against the Chiefs.
Yes. Then we have another Thursday night game. Hold on. Then we have the Sunday night game. Dog. And they play on Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, I just basically went through the whole schedule. Everything they're going to do for the rest of the year is on national TV, except for like 3 games, it seems like, in running through. What I'm saying is, if you hate the Cowboys, you might watch them give up 40 points like 6 times in the rest of the year, or like 30 a night at the very least, unless something very significant changes. And this is without CeeDee Lamb. Is there a world in which the league ever flex the Cowboys out of these slots?
No.
Because I don't know if you saw the injury for Lamb, but I think you and I, we did, because we texted about it. And I was like, oh, he's done for the day.
Yeah.
That is the dreaded high ankle sprain. I don't do a lot of diagnosis from television, but I know what that one is.
Yeah, that's 2 to 4 weeks.
That's 2 to 4 weeks to play. To get right, that's not.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. I wouldn't be surprised if he's out for 4 to 6.
Yeah.
Like, that looked terrible. Okay. So they're going to be down their best offensive player, and they won't have CeeDee Lamb, but every team they play this season is going to have CeeDee Lamb. It's not going to be CeeDee Lamb, but it's going to look like he's CeeDee Lamb. Every single team going to have a CeeDee Lamb out there. Even the white ones, they're going to be out there. Lamb McConkey, you want to know what it feels like to be us? It's going to be like that if y'all play against, they do play against the Cowboys. My bad, Ryan. They play against the Cowboys in week 16. They have to play the Chargers. But at least
it's one of their only games on national TV.
Yeah, hey, man, them cats better go scout before Matt Conkey mess around and make a fool out of one of y'all. Don't get this, don't get this twisted in no kind of way. But no, they're bad. Like they like, in fact, and the thing is, I don't think the Cowboys as a team were bad. And I don't think that we thought that they were just going to be an abjectly terrible defense.
Right. I mean, they were, I mean, obviously a lot of those advanced stats came out when the Parsons stuff was going on about how, the EPA when he was on versus when he was off, which is like the very popular NFL advanced statistic. But they look, you see the popular move is to bring in these disgraced former head coaches as defensive coordinators.
Yes.
Obviously in the same game, Dennis Allen was coaching the Bears. Brandon Staley's with New Orleans, but but Eberflus looks lost. And you thought he could maybe patch something together, but it was open season against a guy he knows pretty well and should know his limitations, the player's limitations.
From what I believe I've heard Dominique say, the problem is Eberflus got one of them schemes. And look, you have a lot of very good schemes like this. Tony Dungy lives like this. Pete Carroll lived like this. Your scheme is dependent upon getting pressure with 4 people. And if you can't get pressure with 4, and that's the only way that you really got it to get pressure, you're going to be in bad shape, which I keep trying to cut them some slack on this. Takes us right back to where everything seems to go right back to
Micah Parsons.
You guys traded Micah Parsons. Like, look, man, I don't think it was as bad an idea as everybody else did. I guess I find myself often being that person that's like, yo, I wouldn't made that move, but hey, maybe you got your reasons. That's kind of where I was on the Luka Doncic trade, right? However, This one, good friend of mine said in Texas, said the Cowboys are going to go down for making the greatest trade of all time and the worst trade of all time. I'm not sure the Parsons trade is going to be the worst of all time, but it definitely will not be the best. Football is back, and so is your shot at big wins. With DraftKings Pick 6, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Here's the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, from breakout rookies to elite QBs, and unlock the upside every snap brings. The better your calls, the bigger your payout. And here's the kickoff bonus. New DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code BOMANI. That's code BOMANI. Play just $5, get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call. Ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus, age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus word is non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
What if a quarterback completed 4 out of 5 of his passes? Or a point guard hit 4 out of 5 behind the arc? Well, now, when you're hiring, you can play at that level, because 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. From healthcare to hospitality, to business services, manufacturing, and more, ZipRecruiter makes hiring faster and easier. And today, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Bomani. ZipRecruiter doesn't wait for the right candidates to find you. ZipRecruiter scouts top talent for you. First, when you post your job, ZipRecruiter hustles to start showing it to the most qualified people. Then, ZipRecruiter races to build a roster of great candidates for your job, and you can invite your top picks to apply, to encourage them to apply sooner. See for yourself. Go to this exclusive web address to try ZipRecruiter for free. ZipRecruiter.com/Bomani. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/Bomani. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. We turn to some funny places for support, but not everyone is a therapist. Not everyone is the one. Find your right match with BetterHelp. We've all done it before. Turning to our barista, hairdresser, or random stranger in the bathroom for life advice. As fun as they are to talk with about everyday topics, when you're looking for help about relationships, anxiety, depression, or other clinical issues, they may not have all the right answers. Instead, get guidance from a credentialed therapist online with BetterHelp. BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the U.S. BetterHelp does the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. A short questionnaire helps identify your needs and preferences, and their 10-plus years of experience and industry-leading match fulfillment rate means they typically get it right the first time. If you aren't happy with your match, switch to a different therapist at any time from their tailored recommendations. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. It's convenient, too. You can join a session with a therapist at the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. Plus, switch therapists at any time. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/Bomani. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Bomani.
All right, Bo, let's get some other stories throughout the weekend. As very, across all the headlines, ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel's late night talk show on Wednesday after the network cited his comments on the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk had crossed the line. The FCC has gotten involved. Trump administration has gotten involved. All of the local Nexstar and Sinclair stations have gotten involved. Bo, what was your reaction to this news?
Okay. I have not talked about this in any public place. I haven't said anything about Kirk being shot or any of the aftermath of it. Um, just because I remember this is a long time ago. When I used to be on Twitter and I was talking about everything. And Trey Wingo hit me up one time. And Trey said, I'm just letting you know, you don't have to say something about everything. And I appreciated what he was saying at the time, and I didn't have a problem with it, right? Like I really knew that he was kind of looking out. But in some ways, I used to think that I did need to have not so much need to have something to say about everything, but I was the person who talked about everything. So I would have something to say about everything. And it was just kind of like, hey, okay, I mean, it's just on Twitter. It's not the biggest deal in the world. But now if there's anything that I would get out here and say to people, it would absolutely be you don't have to say something about everything, right? And I do believe, and again, I'm saying this as somebody who, in his own way, has fallen victim to this himself. I do believe that the way social media works, especially when it becomes a habitual part of your life, and you kind of view yourself as a brand, which is what I think happens to most people. I think a lot of people do feel like they have to have something to say. And I think that existing in a world where people consume so much of what other people have to say, it brings you closer and closer every time to kind of feeling like you got to have some sort of reaction. And what I figured out after a point was you don't have to say anything until you're ready to say it, right? And a big part of why I absolutely came to that conclusion was my ability to recognize that what can get your ass in a sling is only but so related or dependent on what you actually said or what your point was. And I realized that when they came for my friend Jamel in 2017, when she sent that tweet about Donald Trump and said that referred to him as a white supremacist. Now, the thing that nobody really talks about with that tweet that I think is interesting is that it was a reply to somebody, right? It wasn't something that would necessarily come on somebody's timeline. Like to find it, you were probably going to need to engage, and not the like heavy work, but a little bit of work. And then it went around. And I remember that as that was happening, I looked up and it all felt very orchestrated, right? Like it didn't feel like there was this real organic ground swell of anger. I never bought the idea that that many people were truly that offended by what she said at the time. But I could look and watch and see what was happening online. And that was when I was becoming more aware of the idea of how many people online were not actually people. And I watched it go and I watched it build and I watched it where it gets to the point where somebody's asking a question about it at the White House press briefings with Sarah Huckabee Sanders and all of that goes. And I watched everything that happened after the fact. And I was like, oh, okay. This is how some of this sausage can be made. It's time to lay low, right? And like for me personally, that's what I resolved. I would never get online and getting out here and talking about something that mattered or something that was important because of how little say so I had about what happened to the words that you say. Okay. Now I've always thought about that in artistic sense that like once you present what you have to say to the people, your words no longer belong to you after you give them to people. They become how people interpret them, what people want them to be, but very often what people manipulate your words into being. That is what happens. Okay. So when Kirk got shot, number one, there's not much to say about a person being shot. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a lot of insights that I can provide to you about somebody being shot. I just don't have it, right? The one thing that I could say and recommend to anybody to keep in mind is grave dancing is generally speaking in poor taste and never received well. Right? Like, I feel like the tendency to do some of the grave dancing online is a result of people feeling like they have to have something to say because it is very easy. I personally never talked about Charlie Kirk when he was alive. It is very easy for me in the moment of his death to do the same thing. There's nothing to say. Okay. All right. So people are going to say some things that offend you. Some people are going to express an affection for him that you don't like. All of these things. I can tell you that you don't have to say something. You don't. Right. But at the same time, I was floored by how many people were getting fired for what they said, or in some cases, kicked out of school for what they said, right? So I'm talking about this in the context largely of myself, of being a fairly visible figure and recognizing that it's people looking for the moment that I slip every day, right? Like I know the hazards and dangers that I myself are dealing with. It's kind of wild, the idea that regular people were kind of being held up to that same level of scrutiny, right? Now, part of why regular people were held up to that same level of scrutiny is that y'all done turned social media into the goddamn Crime Stoppers hotline, even though stuff ain't even necessarily crimes. Like, this has been going on for a long time, that the idea or the recourse to somebody saying something online or being discovered online, doing something that people don't like, is to go find out where they work and then to go get them fired. This is an ideologically inspecific pastime that we have seen grow and grow and grow. And that's the move. You don't like what somebody did. And I think that people felt like, for whatever reason, no matter what the issue is, you feel like there's some measure of change that needs to be enacted. And you know that the thing that makes change more than anything else, or the way to punish somebody, is to hurt their pockets. And so the move then is to go after their livelihoods. Okay. We've seen people operate like this on a small level. As this has gone on, when this thing happened with Kirk, that was the first move so many people went to, except it didn't feel like it was regular people just behind that. You look up and it's governors of states encouraging people to get in on the snitching, to go find out who people are so that you can kick them out of college. So you can throw them out of school for behaving in poor taste. And a lot of the stuff that people are talking about, I 100% believe is in poor taste, right? The internet is so weird in that on one hand, people do the stuff because they want to be seen, but on the other hand, they forget that people can see them. You know what I mean? But like the stuff is certainly in poor taste, but I've never thought that poor taste was actionable in the ways of things that we are discussing. But anyway, I watched all this. And so like you put all those things together, kind of like me watching as things has progressed over time. And I thought about myself. And when I say I thought about myself, it was like, while on one hand, I'm not obligated to say something, on the other hand, I want to talk about this, right? I want to talk about it in part because that's what I do. I want to talk about it in part because for 25 years, these are the kinds of things that I've talked about for a living in public. And I have an audience that I think many of whom would like to know what I think about this and would appreciate whatever help I can offer them in terms of contextualizing this, right? But what I've always felt about myself is I know the terrain. I don't really get into talking about stuff when I don't know the terrain or I don't know the rules, right? And for the majority of my career, I've been done a very good job of talking about controversial topics in what I would consider to be non-controversial ways. That if I can stay in spaces of mutually agreed upon fact or mutually agreed upon ideas, that if you're talented enough, you can figure out how to make your points within those spaces without putting your ass on the line. That's how I've always felt. And then if you are putting your ass on the line, the question always for me became, is this thing that I am saying worth potentially being unable to say all the other things that I may have to say? And very, very, very few things in my mind have ever been worth that long run play, right? It's about figuring out how to do it. That's always been my thought about going about these things. And if I couldn't figure out how to do it, then maybe I need to leave it alone. Maybe I'm not good enough to talk about what that thing is if I can't figure out how to do it. But at the same time, there's a certain measure or feeling with some of that that make you ask yourself if you are engaging in some measure of cowardice, right? And so it's the balance of I ain't no sucker, but I'm also not no fool. When this came down from Kimmel to bring this all together, I went and watched what he said. And if I were doing his job and the writers and I had come up with what they did for him to say in that moment about Charlie Kirk, there's no way in the world that I would have thought that would have cost me my job. There's none, right? And I'm saying this as somebody who has done that job before, right? And somebody who engages in figuring out how to say this stuff. There's no way that I would have thought that would have been the thing that could, and let's be clear, Jimmy Kimmel's not working another day on that job. There's no going back for either of those sides. There's no way in the world that I thought that that would have been a wrap. I never would have considered that in that moment. And so it happened, the whole, it progressed as it did. But I read this article in the New York Times that was talking about like how the groundswell grew that led to Kimmel's dismissal. And what made this more terrifying than anything else was this wasn't like a social media fire. Like that thing with Jamel at the very least had the appearance of a social media fire. That wasn't really what seemed to happen here. And that wasn't the way the Times described it. Elon Musk got a hold of it and he's got more followers than anybody on Twitter. So then he sends it, right? After there's a little, a little bubbling with people with something to say, but people got something to say that they don't like about everything, right? The thing that people focused on was the idea that Kimmel implied that the shooter was a Republican when he was not a Republican. If he got that wrong, he got that wrong. But I would not have thought that that would have led to this. You see what I mean? And so it starts with Elon, it goes, and then the FCC director goes on a podcast, and then he says the thing that he says on the podcast about how ABC needs to, think about losing licenses or whatever it is. And then that leads to the Next Star people and all these other companies and everything else. And then it all goes to the move until finally Bob Iger decides, okay, we're not going to put Kimmel back on anymore, right? I'm not sure people were that mad. That to me is maybe the scary part in this. Because look, I've done this job long enough to understand that you are at the mercy of the audience, right? And if you do get out here and you do make the audience very, very upset, then you're going to have to deal with whatever comes with that. Like I've always understood that. That's part of the deal, okay? But if the audience isn't even mad, and what has presented itself just seems to be an opportunity to do what somebody wanted to do already, that is terrifying. Like I say that is terrifying for somebody who does this as a job in terms of a livelihood. But the same rules are being extended to regular people. I mean, regular people, for lack of a better term. I think you understand what I mean by that, right? That's going all the way down. Like, I've really been unsure. Ryan, we can tell the people this, that last week we had planned to broach this topic and began talking about it in the context of what Dan Lanning said after the Oregon game. And we did it, and then we got to a point where I was just like, yep, you know what? Cut the second part. And then you called me later to say, we're cutting the first part too.
Here's the thing. If we're not going to do this well, like we're doing it right now, it doesn't make any sense to do it at all.
Right. And it took me 2 weeks or however long it's been to get to a place where I felt like we could halfway do it well. But I should have to worry about that. Other people, I don't think should have to worry about it in that same form or fashion or in that same way. Or to me, the most underrated part of this with Kimmel is that I assure you that script went through levels of vetting. Nobody thought it was a problem. Right? It's not like it went straight from Jimmy Kimmel's mind into the teleprompter. No.
Correct.
No.
It's not like a weird stand-up moment.
No, right. This is not like
a hot mic moment or anything like that. Right.
Yeah. Or like this. The nature of the show that we're doing right now, our content does not pass through a bunch of desks and a bunch of hands or executives
or lawyers
or a legal desk or anything to do that. That's not how this works here. I am fairly certain that what was going on over there went through levels and nobody thought that there was a problem, right? What do you do when you don't know what is a problem?
What the line is, what the line is and what the rules are.
Right. And the truth is, because there aren't really rules. If this is a violation of the rules, nobody can tell you what the rule is. Look, everything involving Kirk has just been different than anything that I have ever seen. I've personally never seen a situation where someone is treated like a hero and the people who find him heroic do not quote his words. It is the people who oppose him who quote his words and are then punished in some cases for quoting the hero. I've never seen anything like that. I don't know how to answer for you what that is. What I do know though is that will not be the last time an example is made. Perhaps for very similar reasons that seem to have in large part to do with merger discussions, which get into a larger discussion of the role of what happens when you allow monopoly power to be possible, how then susceptible the potential monopolists are to the pressure of governmental forces. Because the possibility of something that approaches monopoly is so valuable. And then if a company has monopoly power over something like media, then they are always susceptible. And then when they are susceptible, the monopolistic operator becomes almost inseparable from the pressure.
Becomes the judge, the jury, and in this point, almost the executioner.
Right. Like there's a lot of real complex things that I think come together in this that a lot of people are not able to quite see because we've let the monopolistic horse so far gone so far from the barn. And so yeah, it's so bad. It's gotten so far, and I don't think we ever recognized that it was a problem. And we didn't recognize it was a problem because we're so dedicated to getting this money that we think the idea of penalizing somebody for getting too much money, we don't understand the mechanics of it. So it just seems like you being a hater, right? And and then it just goes from there. So I guess I wrap this all up because God knows, before you fuck around and say the wrong thing, I wrap this all up in saying that I don't know how any of us who do this can feel comfortable right now. Because for me personally, the most difficult part about this is there has been no time in the 25 years that I have worked in media that I did not trust my own judgment. Now, there have been times that maybe I trusted it a little too much, but I have never not trusted my own judgment. I do not trust my own judgment right now. And that is the most uncomfortable place I could ever imagine being as the professional and the man that I would like to think that I am. However, we also can't be scared, right? We don't have to be stupid, but we can't be scared. I just don't know what smart is anymore. And that's crazy.
All right, Bo, we're switching gears here. A column in The Athletic written by a friend of the show, David Aldridge. can Adam Silver find his resolve with the Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers? NBA season's about a month away. Obviously, there have been a lot of rumblings with reportings about Kawhi and Steve Ballmer trying to potentially skirt the rules of the cap. Adam Silver has had limited public comments on this. Said about a week ago, I frankly never heard of the company Aspiration before, and I never heard a whiff of anything around an endorsement deal with Kawhi or anything around engagement with the Los Angeles Clippers. So it was all new to me. Bomani, how do you think the situation resolves itself?
I don't know. And so my old co-host Pablo Torre on his podcast came across a trove of documents from this company called Aspiration that turned out to be a scam. It looks like the guy that was running the place is going to wind up doing a lot of time. Steve Ballmer invested a lot of money into the company. Kawhi Leonard signed an endorsement deal with the company for a lot of money, like I want to say $28 million. But the thing was, there were provisions in the deal, a deal that they didn't really tell anybody about. And there were provisions in the deal that said that Kawhi didn't actually have to do any work in order to get the money. Okay. So you have Ballmer putting money into a company that ultimately gives money to Kawhi Leonard where he doesn't necessarily have to work. Okay. Here's the thing for me, right? There is something fishy going on, I think is a fair point to make. Now, Pablo has said that there is not room to question his team's reporting on the matter, right? I think the exact words he used is that if you question the reporting, you're kind of showing your ass. Okay. I do not, or at the very least, as of now, I'm not inclined to question the reporting. Like, I don't believe that the documents and things that they produced are false. I think that those things are true. The question is the fishy smell coming from, like, what kind of fish are we talking about here? You understand what I mean? I am not sure as of now that whatever was going on was for the purpose of circumventing the salary cap. I think that it is possible, but I don't think that has not been shown to me definitively. I would never dare come out here and say, oh no, they definitely weren't skirting the cap. Maybe they were, but that's not the conclusion that I have drawn from the information that has been presented as of now. I'm not quite there yet, right? Here's the problem for Adam Silver. I'll tell you who is there. People who cover the NBA, right? Like, to me, this is a very internet story as it stands right now. I don't have a great handle on how much the average NBA fan cares about this. Like, this feels more like an old NCAA scandal than it does to a basketball scandal. If you were to ask,
unfortunately, we can't do bowl bans and vacate former wins.
Right. But there are things you could do, like the Joe Smith salary cap scandal of 25 years ago. They took 5 first-round picks away from the Timberwolves, right? My question is, if you were to ask the average NBA fan on the street if they know about the Timberwolves and the Joe Smith cap circumvention, I don't think they know about it. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't have a great handle on whether the median NBA fan cares that much about this story. But I know that the median NBA reporter absolutely does care about this story. And many of them believe that there were definitely cap shenanigans that went on here. So if Silver, who has now turned this over to the NBA, to a law firm to do an NBA investigation, right? If that investigation comes back and they don't believe that Ballmer attempted to circumvent the cap, are the writers who cover the NBA going to believe that? Or are they going to believe that the league is covering for this man? And that's in part just a reflection of the times, man. I've talked about this many times on this program. It's a very important thing, which is in our lives, the declining faith that we have in institutions. Steve Ballmer is a man worth $150 billion. He's the richest owner in sports in the world. Does the NBA want to make an enemy with one of the biggest value adds the league has ever had? That is the question that I think that people are going to ask themselves if that investigation comes back and says that the Clippers were not circumventing the cap. What happens if that's the case? Now, look, I will tell you this. If the investigation comes back and they do think the Clippers circumvented the cap, there's going to be some consequences and repercussions. Please believe that. That's going to happen. But I don't think there's really that much for us to talk about right now. Like, if you want to talk about it right now, it's just whether or not, as of this moment, whether you do or do not believe that the Clippers circumvented the cap based on the information that Pablo has produced. I believe the line that people say, though, about journalism is that it's like the first draft of history or something like that. That is the catalyzing agent. That reporting is going to prove to be the catalyzing agent that gets to the part that actually will matter in application, which is the investigation that the NBA and this law firm ultimately do, right? And so if you're Silver, there's really not much more you can do but wait on that investigation, however long it happens to take. People talk about they need to take the All-Star game away from LA. What are you, high? All-Star game's in February. They ain't doing that. Not on an allegation, right? They don't have enough to do that. No. That part's not going to happen. But when the investigation is done, we're going to find out. And what I do think is that the league is going to have to make the findings public. That I 100% believe. No matter what happens, they can't get away with not showing people what they find.
Correct, because I think there is a important part to this groundswell around the support for the reporting, and that has a lot to do with a very popular anti-billionaire sentiment going on with our country. And it is very easy to make an enemy of Steve Ballmer unless you are Adam Silver.
Well, I think the other part of this sentiment is the way people feel generally about Kawhi Leonard and specifically about the idea of his mysterious Uncle Dennis. Right?
Which is talk about shady family members getting impermissible benefits. This is a college football story. Yeah.
But this is my thing about Dennis, though. And I don't know Dennis. I don't never talk to him. I don't know how shady he is or is not, right? I do firmly believe that he operates on the premise that the worst thing that you can do is say no. So he asked for the world, right? Like, I have not heard of him doing anything underhanded. He's just trying to get every single dime that is possible. He has audacity. That is his game, is audacity. Because he's a serious person. I think that's the part that gets lost in this. And so there are two kinds of like these family members that you wind up in like the college sports situation. It's the kind that don't know nothing about the game, so they just come in bulling a china shop, asking for all the money. And it's the people who know everything about the game, and that's why they come in bulling the china shop, asking for all the money. And he appears to be the latter.
Yeah, and that has gone consistent with the time with the Raptors, asking for equity in the team, asking for...
Hold on. He asked for equity in the Maple Leafs. He was like, I know y'all can't give me, in this, that's fine, but what about the other one?
Speaking of something you have lots of things to say about, Complex released their top 50 greatest rap songs about sex. Number 5, UGK, Take It Off. Number 4, Cardi B featuring Megan Thee Stallion, WAP. Number 3, Lil Wayne, Lollipop. Number 2, Ludacris, What's Your Fantasy? And number 1, Tupac, Temptations. Bo, I tried to sound like not the whitest person in the world when I was reading this list. Bo, your thoughts?
So this is what's interesting about the list is I immediately looked at who wrote it, and it's obviously people who are much younger than me. Though if you look at the songs that you rattled off there for the top 5, okay, Ryan, let me make sure I heard it straight. You got UGK's Take It Off, WAP. What was number 3?
Lollipop,
number 2.
What's Your Fantasy?
And then Temptations by Tupac was number 1.
Yeah.
So like 3 of those songs are 25 years old. One of them is damn near 20 years old, and the other one is like 5 years old. I don't agree with any of that, just to be clear. But it's hard for me to it's somewhat difficult to make the all you young people don't know anything argument, because damn, you apparently know a lot more than I thought you did if you pulled it. Now, I will give them this. Did you see what number 6 was?
I did not. I can pull that up right.
Yes. Number 6, if I recall, should have been number 1 to me, and that was Digital Underground, Freaks of the Industry. Like, That was the one they had there. They had a couple that I was surprised. It was Freaks of the Industry was number 6. Yeah. Like, for example, I was surprised that Biggie One More Chance, the album version, was not there. I was really surprised that there was nothing for Big Pun, particularly I'm Not a Player, not the remix, the first one. Right.
I was surprised we got a single R. Kelly song because I figured
the Biggie joint.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I also don't like that song. Like, if you wanted to go with Biggie sex songs, you could have come up with better ones than that, right? And look, making these lists are hard. All of that, I understand it. But I will tell you this: as I was going through all those songs about sex, buddy, there's not a dollop of romance to be found anywhere. And the reason I'm disappointed that there is no romance on there is because it means that they missed another top 5 rap sex song, and rap sex songs are all about sex. But there was one that had some romance to it, and they didn't have it. And I actually think that it should have been number 2 on this list, and that is 8 Ball and MJG Space Age Pimpin'. I could not believe, and again, we're asking a lot of these people in doing the list, but at least that one got a little bit of romance and actual sexiness to it. Like, what's it? Ghostface, what's the ghost? Is it Wildflower? Where it's just like, yo, brother, chill out, man. This doesn't sound like it would be any fun for the young lady at all.
The interesting thing of making a list about songs about sex is everything is kind of about sex.
Correct.
Everything is they had to be songs that were all quite literal.
Yes, like Freaky Tales, for example, is on that list. They had a couple of NWA Eazy-E songs. And it's like, this is actually making me a little guilty about some of the things that I've listened to at various points in my life. I was just like, I don't really know. And by the way, if we are just going to go with our favorite crass rap songs, whatever happened to When I Met You Last Night, Baby? Ain't No Fun is nowhere to be found? Hey, look, again, this is a very difficult job, but I feel like y'all missed some staples, right? While somehow missing staples while coming with some amazingly deep cuts. But Ain't No Fun if the homies can't have none. That one is, it's kind of hard not to put that one there.
All right, Bo, we opened up the voicemail line. Got some good ones always. Let's take a look.
Hey, Bo, first time, long time listener. Just finished Bootlegger's Boy, and Barry Switzer is one of one. They don't make those like him anymore. He illustrates very well how dominant his mid-'80s teams were, but only won one title because Jimmy Johnson's Miami team. What's your favorite 4 to 5 year stretch of college football in your lifetime? And then also to close out, Tebow Mania. Philip Rivers allowed Broncos to win the division at 8-8, so he can't be a Hall of Famer. Later.
That is an incredibly fair point on Philip Rivers. And yeah. And in fact, as I recall, the first Tebow Mania game was against the Chargers. The Broncos didn't win, but Tebow walked them down, and that was on Philip Rivers' watch. Okay, so Texas was my team, so I would say that the 5-year run from 2005 to 2009, that was 2 games, 2 national championship games. The Vince Young, the full ascension of Vince Young. Yeah, we had that one. But the truth is, man, even if I was just real little when it happened, you had to be here for 1987 through 1990 water tour to you. It is impossible to believe that was real, right? Like, people my age can actually say that things were wilder in our day than they are now, right? Like, we look back and it's like, man, them cats was out there doing it. Like, just the whole idea, that the players looked up and realized, no, we actually have all the power here. What are you going to do? You want this money. You want these applications. We run this. And the school having to kind of be like, all right, yeah, all right.
It's just the juxtaposition of Miami, the city, Jimmy Johnson, the person, Michael Irvin, the person.
Yes.
And that just cascades all of it.
Well, yeah. Then Jimmy leaves and Dennis Erickson comes in, and those dudes immediately recognize, we got this.
I told you offline that I accidentally ended up at the Miami football bar here in New York, and my wife asked me like, well, why is it like this? I was like, I don't have the time. Do you have like since we're here for other people, I don't have the 90 minutes to explain this to you.
Well, Miami is all things Miami are a different world. But keep in mind, while that's happening with Miami, Florida State is also happening. So there's like a Miami light version. And if Florida State fans are honest, it was the U. Like y'all were very, very good, but y'all didn't take it as far. Y'all were you-ish, but not quite all the way there.
All right, Bo, here's our next one.
Bo, okay, I'm going to set the scene because I feel like every man has experienced this. And I just want to know if it's happened to you, and if so, what was it? So you're hanging out with your lady, and you show her a movie, a TV show, you put on an album, something that's important to you, some piece of art that's important to you. And it's really obvious that she's just not feeling it. Happened to me a couple weeks ago. I'm a particular fan of the band, the Mars Volta. If you haven't checked them out, it bangs. I promise you, put it on that fancy stereo system you got. But anyway, she was just not feeling the Mars Volta. After 15 minutes, I'm like, okay, let me put on a couple other songs, and some of the deep cuts, and she just wasn't feeling it. So I know this has happened to every man. I'm positive. So has it happened to you? What was it? Shed a little bit of light on that. Appreciate the show.
So Ryan, he's basically asking, he was trying to get his woman into it and it wasn't working. If I had any advice, I don't be trying to get people into nothing. I'm going to play it, and if you say it's jamming, I'm going to tell you some more. But you're not going to get yourself anywhere by going any farther.
You can't convince people to like what you like. Either they'll like it or they won't.
Yes, that is it. No. Let her have it.
Yeah,
let her have it.
And once you realize that it's not working, bail immediately. Then
yes,
there's if the first thing you thought of didn't work, I promise you the second and third thing won't either.
Yeah, no. Generally speaking, you just play it, and as long as you don't get what is that? You good. Just ride it out.
All right, Bo, here's our last one.
Hey, Bomani, this is Josh calling from PG County, Maryland. And I just had a quick question about The Wire, because I watched it this summer, and it's probably the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But I feel like your hatred towards Stringer Bell should be more aimed at Marlo, because if I'm correct, you think Stringer Bell is the worst. He is the worst. But wasn't Marlo just as bad? So I'm just curious. I just want to know your thoughts. Thank you. Love the show. Have a good one.
See, there's a difference between me and you. You want a motherfucker to lie to you. That's the only explanation for this. Look, here it is. I ain't never say Marlo was no good guy. Marlo was terrible. I hope Marlo caught on fire. But Marlo was what he said he was. My problem with Stringer Bell, okay, the worst. My problem with Stringer Bell was Stringer Bell's out there being terrible. And I promise you, Ryan, you ain't been around this long. Maybe you've seen this from the outskirts, but I feel very confident. I turned the tide on the way a lot of people felt about Stringer Bell. Maybe not everybody, but I used to be the only person out here in public.
You're calling yourself an influencer.
All I'm saying is this: when it started, I was on an island. I was there by myself talking about Stringer Bell. I look up now and it's tiki torches. It's like a goddamn resort at this motherfucker. I built a hotel and the people showed up. You know what I'm saying? But when this first started, it was all me by myself and a bunch of white people out here talking about, no, he wanted to be more than a drug dealer, but he still wanted to sell drugs. You see what I'm saying? He never wanted to stop selling drugs. He just didn't want to be the one who sold them with his own hands. He always wanted to sell drugs, but he wanted to be a real estate broker. What's the honor in that? What are we talking about? So yeah, it's not just that my anger is not strictly aimed at Stringer Bell. It's aimed at all the people that tried to tell me that he was anything other than what he was. I value sincerity, and that man was not sincere. And you from PG County, was it Josh? I think his name was Josh, Justin, Joey, whatever your name was, Jimmy. You need to ask yourself, how real you are about the truth. Because from what I've heard right there, brother, it sounds like you was engaging in some respectability politics. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. Got me heated. We should have done the sex music thing at the end. I would have left here in a better mood. We do this here 3 times a week. Ryan Brumley handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, our voicemail line is at 323-596-7767. Always taking your questions, your thoughts, whatever it is. Go ahead and drop it off. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater, and we'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.